welcome to Nasir Soft. This is the interview question and answer series for PHP MySql jobs, and in this video we will talk about the most common interview questions related to databases, that is asset properties. So what is asset properties? A transaction is a single logical unit of work which access and possible modifies the contents of a database. Transaction access data using read and write operations. In order to maintain consistency in a database, before and after the transaction, certain properties are followed. These are called asset properties. And the asset properties are mentioned in this diagram. So the first A is Automaticity. It shows the Automaticity. This C consistency, the I for oscillation, and D for durability. And we will talk about each these properties one by one. So automaticity, the entire transaction takes place at once or does not happen at all. The consistency is the database must be consistent before and after the transaction. Isolation, multiple transactions occur independently without interference. And durability, the changes of a successful transaction occur even if the system failure occur. Automaticity, by this we means that either the entire transaction takes place at once or does not happen at all. There is no midway. For example, transactions do not occur partially. Each transaction is considered as one unit and the either runs to complete or is not executed at all. It involves the following two operations. The first operation is abort. If a transaction aborts, changes made to database are not visible. And the second operation is commit. If a transaction commits, it means that its changes made are visible. Automaticity is also known as all or nothing rule. So do all or nothing. If any one transaction failed, it means that overall transaction fails and the all changes are abort. We can understand this concept by a simple mechanism. Okay, for example, we have two accounts. The first account is X and its initial amount is 10, and the second account is Y and its initial amount is 20. So if we want to transfer 5 rupees from account X to account Y, then what happens in real? So first it deducts the 5 rupees from the account X and then add the 5 rupees in amount Y, and the amount Y is increases by 5 rupees. So let's assume that in transaction the first step X is reduced by 5 rupees and then the other transaction failed. For example, and in Y account the 5 rupees not added. Okay, so what happens now? Now the first transaction, that is deduction from X account, is occurred successfully, but the second transaction that add the 5 rupees in the account Y is failed. So now it's aboard the whole transaction and again add the 5 rupees in account X. Basically this is due to the failure of second transaction. So X updated but not Y yet updated due to transaction failed. Now Y is still 20. This result is an inconsistent database state. Therefore, the transaction must be executed in entirely in order to ensure correctness of database state. So if one transaction failed, it means that the other transaction that is successful also reverted. Okay, so this is called the concept of automaticity. So hope you will understand. Now let's move to other properties. The second property is consistency. This means that integrity constraints must be maintained so that the database is consistent before and after the transaction. It refers to the correctness of a database. Referring to the example, the total amount before and after the transaction must be maintained. If transaction occurs success in example, okay, that is about the transfer amount from X to Y account, then the amount must be equal before and after transaction. So for example, before transaction in database, the T1, that is the initial value of X is 10 and Y is 20. So overall the both amount, if we add the both X and plus Y account, then it's referred to 10 plus 20, 30. Okay, so before transaction occur, the overall amount is 30, and after the transaction, for example, if transaction is successfully occurred, then the offer after the transaction, sorry, the X amount is reduced by 5. So the X has 5. If we minus 10 minus 5, that is equal to 5, and Y is 5 is added in Y account, so Y is now 25. So if we add both X and Y, that is also equal to 30. So the value before transaction and after transaction must be equal. This is called the concept of consistency. So hope guys you will understand. Now let's move to the next property, isolation. This property ensures that multiple transactions can occur concurrently without leading to the inconsistency of database state. We can simply say that transactions occur independently without interference. Changes occurring in a particular transaction will not be visible to any other transaction until that particular change in that transaction is written to memory or has been commented. Keeps transactions separated from each other until they are finished. This property ensures that two or more transactions are never mixed up with each other, generating incorrect and inconsistent data. So if two transactions are running concurrently, then until the first transaction not committed, that the changes is not should not be visible to the other transaction. That is the concept of isolation. So now let's move to the next ACID property, durability. This property ensures that once the transaction has completed execution, the updates and modification to the database are stored in and written to disk, and they persist even if a system failure occurs. So it guarantees that the database will keep track of pending changes in such a way that the server can recover from an abnormal termination. This property makes sure that in the event of failure or service restart, data is available in the appropriate state that available before the failure. Okay. So the ACID property of the database is described in ISO IEC 10026 1:1992 section 4, sorry. Remember this number if you want to impress your interviewer with your knowledge. You know that he is going to ask these questions, better be ready to answer these questions correct and impress him or her. Okay, so the reference is mentioned, this one. So at last, through this diagram, you can also understand the ACID properties. So A is for automaticity, all or nothing transaction. The concept is all or nothing transaction. The C for consistency, and the concept is guarantees committed transaction state. The third is isolation, I for isolation, and it means that transactions are independent. And the D for durability, it means that committed data is never lost, even the server restart or the power or system restart happens. Okay, so hope guys you will understand the concept of ACID properties. If you have any questions regarding to this topic, you can email me or you can write inside the comment section, and email is mentioned in video description. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for more informative videos. Stay blessed and happy. Have a nice day.